everybody. Welcome in on a Monday for the Texans Collective. It is a three-man show today as Reggie Atatula is at media night here in San Francisco. That's where I am. I'm in San Francisco. Radio Row this week here for Super Bowl 60 between the Patriots and the Seahawks. I am Sean Pendergast, of course, one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610. To one side of me is Landry Locker of the Locker Room and SNL. The other side, Cody Stutes, Houston Football, and of course SNL. That would be Stutes and Locker, who together, collectively, these guys do an amazing job of covering the Houston Texans. No Houston Texans football to talk about, unfortunately. It's been that way the last couple of weeks. Nothing on the field. We've got Texans topics, of course, that we will get into as we always do on the show. We thank everybody for listening, for participating in the chat, for giving us a like, for giving us a subscribe. That's big. And of course, we'll talk about Prize Picks a little bit later on, our sponsor. But if you feel like downloading the Prize Picks app, hey, there's basketball tonight and every night, and you can play that. And we got the big game coming up on Sunday, Max Discount Square. Drake May, 1 yard passing, you win the square on Prize Picks on Sunday. So download that, take advantage of that, use the code Texans, and that gets that job done. Gentlemen, it's great to talk to you as always. Here, first day on Radio Row, and you guys have both been on Radio Row before. You know it's a slow burn throughout the week. The big feeling here, at least amongst us from Houston, is, man, this really sucks walking around San Francisco. You guys know how it is. You walk around Radio Row, and there's gigantic murals of both teams that are participating in this thing, and every Patriots mural that I see feels like a dagger that just gets plunged into my stomach and then ripped upwards up into my rib cage.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, I don't envy not having to be at Radio Row. That is not my most favorite form of radio, to say the very least. But I do look at these two teams now, and I feel I almost feel like the Texans. I feel further away at this point than I did 2 weeks ago as I've watched this thing kind of unfold. And I think there's been a couple of things that have happened that kind of, I think, showcase the blind spot that this team has and really the opportunity that they had, and it's the coaching staffs. I'm looking at the New England Patriots, and I think the only thing that's separating the New England Patriots from the Texans right now is competent offensive coaching and quarterback play that is able to do whatever it takes, even if it's ugly. And the Texans did not have that. And then on the other side, we see Clint Kubiak, get a head coaching job after he could have very well been in the mix for the Texans coaching staff. And he actually was a few years ago. And it just makes me feel, as I'm watching this, Sean, maybe I should feel like they're closer than they are, but I feel today that they're further away than I did a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
It certainly does sting a little bit not being there when you do a lot of comparison. Most of it's of the offensive sort when you look at it. The Seahawks have an incredible offense led by a reclamation project at quarterback that has gotten so far away from the guy that he was way back in the day that he's almost unrecognizable as the type of player that he is right now, led by a guy that at different times was connected to this Texans team. They, of course, missed Kubiak and in the offseason hiring Nick Caley by a couple of days. They fire Bobby Slowick. A couple of days later, Clint Kubiak's already got a job before they even get the interview process really off the ground. So you missed that. And then over on the New England side, yeah, Josh McDaniels failed multiple times as a head coach. He's obviously really good at coaching offense, and they've cobbled it together with a second-year quarterback that didn't get figured out after his first year, which is nice to see I'm sure for their standpoint, because it felt like a lot of these first-year success stories at quarterback quickly turned into disasters in year two when you factor in what happened to C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, more injury concerns this year. But yeah, it sucks sitting here looking at these two teams and at least feeling like it should have been something closer to the Texans playing in this game.
Yeah, I don't know what would have happened if the Texans had beaten the Patriots. I think the Seahawks they're going to convincingly beat the Patriots. So, look, getting to the Super Bowl, getting to the conference title game would have been awesome. They've never done that before. Getting to the Super Bowl would have been incredible because at least we would have all gotten to experience the buildup for it. I think that's half the fun, is getting to talk about it for 2 weeks and getting to experience it and have the rest of the football world be jealous of you for that period of time. Even if it does end up with your team, losing and maybe even losing convincingly, I don't think the Texans would have beaten the Seahawks if they were here, but it sure would have been nice if they were here. It was funny. Go ahead, Landry. Did you?
No, I think you're preaching kind of what my overall theme was today on SNL is I feel like regardless of where you sit on the argument about did Nick Caserio put enough around CJ Stroud to win the to get to the AFC Championship game, or did CJ Stroud wet the bed? And it feels like that's really kind of like where the fan base is divided. Regardless of where you sit on that, at the end of the day, I don't think this Texans team, regardless of the what, and we can just throw that to the side, built a good enough team to beat this Seahawks team. I think the Seahawks, that they did. If the Texans had faced the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, I think our conversation would be, how do they get to that level? Because let's be honest, the Seahawks beat their ass the first time around, and the scoreboard was actually closer than the actual game itself. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. It would have been cool to get there, but it also would have been incredibly difficult for me to imagine the Texans being able to beat the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, it was funny. I went to Pro Bowl practice today.
It's intense.
Because there was player availability afterwards. I wasn't there to try to see if what are the coaches going to be doing in this flag football game tomorrow? Can I get any little wrinkles that I might be able to parlay into some sort of investment opportunity? I just thought it was there were a lot of stark reminders of things with the Texans. They have 6 guys here, and 5 of them are on the defensive side of the ball. It was a metaphor. That practice, 99% of the people are just at that practice, just hanging out to talk to other media members and get ready and get a little bit of sound after practice. Probably take some pictures. Probably a lot of them taking pictures because the first time they've ever been to something like that, and they're sending them to friends. I'm sitting there with my Texan 3D glasses on, or my Texans, Oculus or whatever, and I'm like, "Yep, there's 7 guys out there for a walkthrough in flag football." And 5 of them, literally, there was one point where 5 of the 7 guys were Texans on the defensive side. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, I'm asking David Wolf, who's the Texans PR guy who's here for the team this week. And I'm like, is Nico out there? Where is he? And Nico's like way over on the other side with his hat pulled down. And I'm like, you need a radar to find the one offensive guy. And meanwhile, the defensive side is flooded with Houston Texans. I thought it was just, I'm like, man, the football gods just won't let us have some peace, man. Like they just stark reminders everywhere.
I will say this though, one of the most fun things to do at practice is watch Stingley, Lassiter, and Kalen Bullock throw the football together. Like they pretty impressive stuff that Stingley can do when they're doing that. So maybe they threw the football around and you got to see a little bit of that.
This is how intense the practice was. Kamar Lassiter was practicing in shades. He had sunglasses on.
well, would you have preferred to have a second representative and it be CJ Stroud accepting the 78th Pro Bowl invite at quarterback? I don't think I would have liked. Yeah,
no,
Stroud couldn't go to the Pro Bowl if they asked him.
No, but I'm out there watching Joe Flacco. Like Steph and I were joking about that on the air this morning. I'm like, boy, why are the Browns so bad? They had the 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks in their camp before the season started. Flacco and Shador are the 2 quarterbacks for the AFC.
Jeez.
This event, man, is just it's a joke. They're like
maybe CJ should have gone, got his confidence up.
Whatever, yeah, maybe. It was interesting. Not to go too far off on a Pro Bowl tangent. It was interesting though. Like I feel this, they should just retire this thing. I know why it's there. It's on TV. It does pull numbers miraculously. But I talked to Will Anderson for a few minutes after practice today. And I'll be posting the video of that on 610 social and on my social. But it was interesting because I can see why the guys that go like to go, because they like the reunion aspect of it. And even talking to Will, who's the guy who I think takes every opportunity to try to learn things any chance he gets. He spends a lot of time talking to older guys while he's there. It's the same reason he probably worked out with Myles Garrett in the offseason. Will is a really, really sharp dude. I think all the Texans guys that are here are kind of wired the same way. They maybe have different personalities, but I think they're all wired that way, where any opportunity to get together with other football players, they're going to pull something from it. So from that standpoint, I can see why the players like it. But yeah, the practice was a bit of a joke.
Expected nothing less.
Yeah. That's what it is. We should mention the staff changes. For the Texans,
or lack thereof, really,
or lack thereof. Right. So the lack of changes, by my count, 3 changes to the staff. They fired is it Jake Moreland, the tight ends coach, Jake Moreland, and then Ben Bowling, assistant linebackers coach, and then the offensive assistant Mike, what was
Mike
Mike's
somebody.
Mike yeah, there was an offensive
assistant.
Yeah, that they let go. I forget his last name, but he worked with the receivers a little bit. That was it. I didn't watch the tight ends this year and going, man, they need to fire this guy. Now, Kate Stover's lack of development, I guess if we're looking for reasons why you fired the tight ends coach, Kate Stover was a bit of a disappointment this year, but Dalton Schultz, I thought, had a great year. And that was a position that was ravaged with injuries. But you're right. It's not the changes that were made. I think the expectation was there were going to be more changes. What do you guys think? Do you think do you think this is it? They're running it back minus these three guys?
It feels very it to me. It feels very, I mean, they did not they hired a brand new offensive coordinator a year ago, and they didn't make very many changes. And that was a big surprise. And I thought perhaps maybe at the end of the year where most of us would have concluded the offense was a little disappointing, regardless of whatever the reason why it was disappointing, there'd be a few more changes over on the offensive side. Quarterback coach, maybe especially since the quarterback hasn't taken a big leap after that first year, maybe some other offensive assistants that have been here overseeing the offense. Nope. Tight ends coach, an offensive assistant, and that's it. And it's like they have yet to make wholesale changes to the coaching staff on offense. And I understand they brought in a new offensive coordinator a year ago, so that's a big change. But most of the time that change is eventually accompanied with a bunch of brand new faces to run that scheme. And there's really not a bunch of brand new faces associated with it. It's a lot of the same that they have had.
And that might be their kryptonite. I mean, that might be really what just kind of prevents them from getting over the hump. It might be as simple as staff. Like we can talk quarterback, we can talk staff, we can talk personnel. And the reality is you can go to a restaurant and it can have shitty service, shitty food, and a shitty atmosphere. Like I feel like a lot of times like we've like transitioned into a world where when we talk about quarterbacks, it has to be, no, it's not his fault. It's this guy's fault, or it's that guy's fault. Restaurants can have multiple shitty things. And maybe this is the hesitation, the reservation about hiring a defensive minded coach. Like maybe at this point it is just neglect. Like when you see a Kubiak go to Seattle and do what he's done with Sam Darnold, by the way, like it's not like he inherited some sort of awesome situation. Like Geno Smith had the best year of his career, and then they brought in Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold had the best year of his career. By the way, the year before he took over in Seattle and was in New Orleans, the year before that, I shouldn't say the Geno Smith thing. The Saints actually averaged in 2024 more yards than the Texans and just 2 less points with Spencer Rattler and the ghost of Derek Carr. So I do wonder if maybe this staffing stuff, like maybe we shouldn't be surprised. Maybe that's just kind of the weak spot of what is a pretty good organization that does a lot of things really, really well. But this is the thing that kind of stops them from getting over the hump.
That would be a shame. But I've always said, man, hiring is like 80% of your, I think in any business, like hiring and picking the right people. Look at the Texans. I said that about Cal McNair when they had hired David Culley during the Culley year. I said, I think Cal can be a really good owner because all your own, like the good owners, they hire the right people and give them the money and resources to do everything that they can do. That's the definition of a good owner for me. And just don't be an embarrassment out there, in public. And don't be on the Jeffrey Epstein list. That's a big key as well lately. Don't be on that. That's a bad thing. But seriously, the Texans are an example. You hire the right guys, let them do their job, and I think you nailed it, Landry. Like I'm just sitting. I saw those 3 staff changes. I'm like, well, this can't be it. There's no way this can be it. And the linebackers coach getting let go. Like why?
And that was the other thing that I thought was funny. I saw a lot of people in the SNL and locker room and Houston football community were bitching about the Caserio quote, where I guess he said something along the lines of, me and D'Amico have never gotten together and said that the offense is an issue or the offense is a problem. And I know there was a lot of like uproar about it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. That's the least surprising thing I heard in that whole thing. I would have been more surprised if they had. So like I'm hearing all these people say, I can't believe that. Well, no shit. You watch them play offense. I would be more surprised if they actually thought there was an issue. So yeah. I wasn't really necessarily surprised about that. It's very clear that the offense is what's holding them back. And it feels like team run it back. I wonder how aggressive they're going to be, how they're going to approach this, but it does kind of just feel, and that's the problem, Sean, is I when I listen to Caserio, I feel like he's holding himself to the standards of one of the most mediocre organizations in the NFL, where he sits there and he hangs his hat on, well, the last 3 years we've done this. It sounds very Bill O'Brien, 3 division titles. And I feel like Nick Caserio is looking at this and he's thinking, yes, we could have gone somewhere where we'd never gone before. And he's almost treating the AFC Championship like the Super Bowl. And that's the concern that I have with the organization is I think that they're really at a crossroads moment where they got a lot of tough decisions to make. And there's a possibility of really getting stale. And I'm sure we'll talk about this later on in the show, but the surroundings around them right here in the division are looking much better than they were before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think one element too, like Landry, you talked about D'Amico and the defense. If D'Amico wanted a whole new offensive staff, he could get it. He has the ability to say, I want a whole new staff, and then give the people in charge to figure that out. Like if Nick Caley said, yeah, I need these coaches, and D'Amico agreed with him, they'd go and get those coaches. Like there just hasn't been a lot of turnover in an offensive situation. And I would have thought there'd be more of Nick Caley's guys in here, give a little bit more of a chance for him to get deeper into what he does and maximize that. And then once you have a better understanding of, okay, this is exactly what we need, then it becomes a little bit easier for Caserio to go find some more of those things to keep plugging in to the system that you have. And it just, the run it back crew on a disappointing offense is I mean, it's more disappointing than if they'd run it back with Bobby a year ago. To me.
Yeah, dude, you just read my mind, because this is why I like talking to you guys and like collecting our thoughts, no pun intended. But I think that if you look at this, a lot of times hindsight's 20/20. Kubiak is extreme hindsight. I 100% acknowledge that the Kubiak thing is extreme hindsight. But if you told me, okay, Landry, I'm going to give you this time machine, which I often mention, and I'm going to let you go back and I'm going to let you make one realistic change. It can't be too extreme, but I'm going to let you make one realistic change that the Texans could have made during the D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio era. And I can't rehire. I can't go back to the initial hiring of Bobby Slowick because the first year was good. I almost feel like I wish they would have just run it back one more year with Bobby Slowick, because the feeling that I have right now is I've been watching the same offense for 2 years perform at around the same level, but you're hesitant to change because you just made a change. And if they would have just given Bobby Slowick one more year, let's say, and I think CJ was influenced by other vets to where he became miserable, and that's why he was talking about not having fun. And I don't think there was any return for Bobby Slowick. That's not an uneducated opinion. That's my opinion. Someone who's in the building all the time, someone who takes in a lot of information. I think CJ Stroud was influenced by enough vets to where his attitude was kind of soured on Bobby Slowick, and I don't know that they could have functioned another year. But I wonder if CJ Stroud looks back and says, maybe I could have made it work for one more year. And if it didn't work, we're talking about the Texans being in the same market for McDaniel, for Dable, in this offensive coordinator market, instead of just, hell, you could bring in Nick Caley now if you wanted to. But I think of all the things that I wish perhaps now that they would have done, I didn't think Bobby was good. But I have the same feeling about the offense now that I did with Bobby. So that's the issue that I have.
I still would have wiped out Chris Strauser. That would have been I still would have wiped him out, especially in the aftermath of him getting let go. And you talk to enough people, both who played for Strauser, were in the building. You guys know, like you said, Landry, you guys are in the building every day. I would have promoted Cole Popovich still. That would have been the one thing I would say, get rid of that guy. And I'm with you. Like, you could have run it back with Bobby and then see what happens. The beginning, the root of all the problems in 2024 was the offensive line.
The
That was
other
the root of everything.
The other thing about this is I think we might be underestimating what Cole Popovich is with this offense, and I think his influence is a lot higher than we give credit for. And quite frankly, if we're just judging the offensive line, I thought the offensive line improved. I still don't think it was elite, but I thought the offensive line improved. I thought the culture of the offensive line improved. But who is Cole Popovich's boy? Who is one he closest to? Nick Caley. They had a cubicle by each other in New England. They're still tight right now. Look at these changes, these small changes that they've made. Stutes, they're connected to Cole Popovich. So yeah. I think it's a little bit more than just the offensive line coach. I think some like I don't know how much of a say Cole Popovich has in what goes on. Maybe it increases a little bit, but it does feel like there's a little bit more of a Cole Popovich influence than maybe we're aware of at the moment.
Yeah, the only significant additions that we've seen noted to this point are a guy that just started coaching on offense from the college level who previously was on the same staff as Cole Popovich, and a guy that Cole Popovich helped coach in New England in Ferentz that was an offensive lineman for the Patriots. It's like I get – again, I had expectations there was going to be more from the familiarity family going to be on this staff. I just thought there'd be a lot more than just a couple of bodies. Because think about what they have done to the offensive room since getting rid of Bobby. They promoted an offensive line coach and gave him a little bit more voice, and that seems to have been a big positive here at Cole Popovich. They added Jerry Shulpinski, so that's one additional, noteworthy offensive addition. And then they swapped out offense or tight ends coach for a guy that played offensive line in the league and was previously coaching offensive line. And they added another offensive assistant who's been coaching offense for a year at the college level. And it's like,
well, now do the offensive linemen. Now do the offensive linemen that they brought in.
Yeah, so it's there's a restriction to player movement at some point. Like the assets that you have are finite. The assets that you have for coaching staffs are near infinite. And Cal McNair's never been afraid to write a check, especially if he felt like the people he hired needs that. So I just feel like there should be more offensive brain power and swap out some of the guys who've been here during these failures that clearly are not mass effects on success.
And I think that if there's any change behind the scenes, I think it's that Popovich. I'm just kind of restating. I think Popovich's impact is kind of increasing. And you look at the guys that they brought in on the offensive line. Jake Andrews, coached by Popovich in college and at New England. Trent Brown, Popovich. He knows Popovich very well. You can there's a few others. City So was for some reason here. I don't know what the F that was, but yeah, that is what that is. So I think there's any influence that's kind of getting increasing behind the scenes. I think Cole Popovich is going to have a much bigger influence on this offense. I really do.
Hopefully he can make some of these other offensive coaches a little better.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. So I'm not sitting here it's like last year when we were talking about CJ Stroud, and this was my real big reservation was CJ is going to have more say at the line of scrimmage. And I'm like, is that good? Is that good or bad? I don't really know. But I think Cole Popovich for sure has more say on the offense. I don't know whether or not that's good or bad.
I also do want to say having a long form discussion about the coaching staff, I think it's really important when there's not going to be really any pillars changed out on offense. It's going to be a lot of the same things that were the pillar pieces of this offense that are coming back. There's going to be some things moved around the edges. There's definitely going to be some new faces, but you're not swapping out the quarterback. You're not swapping out the star wide receiver. Woody Marks is going to be a factor in your running back room. You know at least two of the offensive linemen next year in Titus Howard and Ariante Ursery. There's tight not ends. You know one of the tight ends at the very least, maybe more. There's a lot of things that aren't changing from a player standpoint, especially huge pieces like the quarterback. That's not changing in 2026. Why not try something different with the guys that are around them would be my big thing with this coaching staff. And it doesn't feel like they're trying anything that different.
All right, we'll get to prize picks here in a few minutes, but I want to make sure, Landry, you alluded to it earlier, the division. The division got certainly better coached over the last few days. Obviously Jacksonville's standing pat with their staff. Indianapolis, same thing, and the Texans, as we've discussed, are not really making any significant changes to their staff. But in Tennessee, they hire Robert Saleh, who was probably in a no-win situation in New York. Actually, won 7 games with Zach Wilson being the primary quarterback back in a couple of years ago, 2023. He hires Brian Daboll to be the offensive coordinator. Feels like a good move. And then today it's announced they are hiring Gus Bradley to be the defensive coordinator. So it seems like the Titans are in a better place. Hard to be in a worse place than they were with Brian Callahan from a coaching perspective, but it looks like they're in a better place coaching wise. Robert Saleh, I think, is a good coach, and the coordinators have at least accomplished some things. What are your guys' thoughts on that and just the AFC South in general so far this offseason?
I would say I'm buying Titan stock. Like I'm buying it very, very significant chunk of Titan stock. They have the most cap space. They have the 4th pick. They have an offensive coordinator that most teams would want, who's got a track record with multiple young quarterbacks of doing well. And I'm a big Robert Saleh guy. I like Robert Saleh a lot. And I also think that him being battle tested in New York is only going to make him a better football coach. He also, by the way, with the exception of this year, when the 49ers defense was depleted, he's got a pretty good history against CJ Stroud, like his defense and that style. You hear CJ mention it every time. 2 high shells. He's gonna do that to you. So I'm buying the Tennessee stock, and I'm buying a pretty healthy chunk of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Tennessee is in a good spot, much better spot than a year ago. Certainly, Landry laid that out. But Jacksonville, they kept both their coordinators. I'm not saying that either of those guys is some sort of just incredible mastermind, but it's, as we've seen, it's not just one guy that comes and fixes things when an offense is wrong. You got to have, a large group around him. And it seemed like Cohen had a lot of good guys over on offense. He gets to keep a lot of that offensive staff, actually gets to bring over a guy from Tampa that he was missing, that a lot of Jaguars media people were explaining this was like Cohen's guy that he had to have. And so he gets a boost there. And then Indy didn't lose Lou Anarumo. And it's like, it may seem like a small thing, but Anarumo was, he did a decent job with their defense. It's like the coaching in the AFC South is really good. Like there's been some times where I've looked at some bad divisions, and it's like, it's pretty easy to look at the coaching. I mean, it feels like the coaching's headed in the right direction for all these franchises. There's obviously a couple of hiccups here and there on each of the rosters, but it's not going to be a short, you're not going to be short-staffed of impressive head coaches and some of their guys around them here in the AFC South like it has been before.
Yeah, both of Jacksonville's coordinators got interviews for head coaching jobs. Like they are viewed at the very least as being, by some NFL teams, as being above the line of worthy of having a conversation with. There's 32 of each type of coordinator in the NFL. Not all of them get interest from the vast majority don't get any interest from teams around the league. Both of theirs did. I think Jacksonville is going to be a problem. I think Liam Cohen's a good coach. And I said that before the season last year, is that the biggest nightmare for a Texan fan would be if the Jags find a head coach that unlocks the Trevor Lawrence from the end of 2022, when they won, they won all those games down the stretch, and they won a playoff game. They made the playoffs and got to the divisional round. We can't sneeze at that here, because that's all the Texans, that's what they do. They go to the divisional round, they lose. So yeah, this look, from an intrigue standpoint, I like it. Like it's going to make the division games a whole lot sexier and juicier. That part is fun. I mean, it's fun winning divisions. But let's face it, like for the first 2 years D'Amico was here, those games, I mean, maybe the Colts games, I don't know, but the games had, and the Jags game maybe at the the first one where they like the Matt Amendola missed field goal or whatever it was, like the games that they don't have the same juice as when you watch other division games on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. And I think maybe we're headed towards that now. If the Titans raise their floor, now you're talking about a division that theoretically doesn't have any bad teams in it anymore.
Well, and there's another element of this too for the Texans. It's like hey, you won more games than you had the previous couple of years. You went down in seeding. Like the division's tougher. Oh, by the way, you won more games than you previously have. You went down in seeding, and a guy that's always there in the playoffs wasn't there in Patrick Mahomes, and he's probably going to be back next year. A guy that's usually there in Lamar Jackson wasn't in the playoffs, and he's usually there. So it's like, the division and how tough it is, it becomes even more important when you're already sitting here and you're like, gosh, well, the rest of the AFC is tough, and you don't really have a large margin for error if you want to be the best team in football or one of the best teams in football and not have to go on the road and play these other teams on the road like it's something they said a year ago. They won more games, but they didn't win the right games.
Yep.
They lost that Jaguars game early in the year.
Yep. Real quick before we get to prize picks, because, the division got harder, but there were 3 prominent teams in the AFC that changed coaches that are on or above that tier. The Texans, like I look at Baltimore, I know Baltimore didn't make the playoffs, but like in general, they're a team that I think is viewed, they're obviously viewed more favorably than the Texans. They have shorter Super Bowl odds than the Texans do next year. What did you guys think of, we don't have to go deep dive on this, but from a Texans perspective, promoting Joe Brady, hiring Mike McCarthy, and then Jesse Minter getting the Baltimore job. Do you guys feel like those organizations made improvements? Did they go backwards? From a Texans perspective, if we're trying to go, okay, do I fear these teams more or less now than before?
I think honestly, I don't think you could have been more blah if you tried. It's hard to really get excited about that. Any of those hires, to be honest with you. When it comes to the Joe Brady thing, okay, I mean that's whatever. We'll see what that looks like. I don't think Buffalo was going to fall off no matter who they hired. Like I think they were going to be around the same type of football team that they are right now. Now maybe their surroundings get a little bit better too. But I didn't think anything of that. Baltimore, blah. I mean, you got rid of John Harbaugh. You weren't really going to bring in a better coach than that. And then the other one was Mike McCarthy for Mike Tomlin. Cool. Like that was about as blah as it gets to. Although I do think Mike McCarthy probably gets a little more flack than he deserves based on his resume and his overall body of work. But that none of those hires really scare me. The Saleh and the Dable combo, to be honest, it gets my attention much more in the overall competition with where the Texans are than any of those 3.
Yeah. Buffalo has a very high blow up in everybody's face tendency to their hire, because it sort of feels like rubber stamping that the GM was going the right way and the coach wasn't. And so I don't feel like that's a good move for Buffalo. So that has like a blow up quickly potential to it. Whereas I feel like both those other franchises are going to be very generous with their time with the head coaches, considering who they previously had. McCarthy in Pittsburgh would be a little bit scarier if you thought they could get a good quarterback, but it feels like they're content to kind of try the Aaron Rodgers experiment for one more year with the way they've kind of put that team and staff together. And then Baltimore, I mean, I've speculated that Lamar Jackson wanted something different. It feels like Lamar Jackson's getting something different. Different doesn't always mean good, but
for him it does. I mean, for him, there's like a 2-year window of what a complete shift in things. Like it seems like it hits a wall, and then whether it's Greg Roman or Todd Monken, there's like a real high ceiling, and then it kind of comes down a little bit.
Well, we'll see if Lamar gets his, with his got his wish, and we'll see if some of those injuries are a little less taxing than they looked under the final year of John Harbaugh. When Lamar's not practicing any Wednesdays, that's weird. It's a win or go home. He practiced all week. Okay. Interesting.
All right, Cody, let's tell the people about Prize Picks.
Let's do it. Prize Picks is daily fantasy, and what better game than the game on Sunday to get some daily fantasy going? You're making a couple of statistical predictions together, more or less on receiving yards or passing yards or rushing yards. Here, I'll just show you. It's very simple how it works, from pass yards and rush yards to receptions, punts, so many other various things. More or less, you put a couple of predictions together. If you get them all correct, you multiply your money 5 times, 10 times, sometimes 20 times, even more than that at Prize Picks. It's very easy to get signed up. But when you get signed up, use our code Texans, or use our code Texans when you get signed up. and you'll play your first $5, get $50 instantly added to your account. Of course, we put our weekly plays on the community page. We'll have one for this Sunday's game if you want to ride along with us.
I'll be going AJ Barner more than yards, please. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Please and thank you.
Early called his shot early.
Yes. AJ Barner.
I'm going to take the Drake May max discount square of him getting 1 yard or more. Put me down for that. I want to plant my flag in the max discount square. I know I'll get that right. So we'll add the max discount square to our play, but I'll come up with something else. We'll put it, like you said.
It might start snowing and then.
Yeah. We'll have it on the on the
plan.
on the YouTube community page later this week, so you can follow along or fade along as you see fit. But Prize Picks code Texans when you get signed up.
So we're actually staying in the same hotel as the Pro Bowlers here. We're staying at the Hyatt downtown, and so there's NFL players all over the lobby. So, and some of them are going to be free agents, that playing in the Pro Bowl. Are there any that you guys would like me to tamper with while I'm here?
I know of one right off the bat. Tyler Linderbaum.
Linderbaum.
Yeah.
Linderbaum.
Yeah, Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Baltimore. If he hits true free agency, solve all your center issues with Tyler Linderbaum. He's been one of the best centers in football since he got drafted in the first round a few years ago, and he's set to be a free agent because the Ravens didn't pick up his fifth-year option. There's some goofy business associated with that, but yeah, you see, he's not the most physically imposing guy compared to some of these other guys, but you see him rolling around, and let's start seeing if he likes Houston or not, Sean.
Yeah. Does he like Tex-Mex? How swarmy is he?
Yeah.
I'll do a swarm check on him.
Feels pretty swarmy.
He's very swarmy. That is for sure.
Yeah.
He might get there late, but Kenneth Walker is a guy that I would like to keep an eye on, along with Breece Hall and the top of the running backs. That would be those two guys. The other one, and this would be a swing for the fences, and I'm not saying that this would be ideal, but Kyle Pitts is a guy, and I don't even know if he accepted or declined or whatever. I can't even keep up with what's going on, but the reason that Kyle Pitts is intriguing for me is he's going to be very expensive. And if the Texans are willing to invest what would be required of Kyle Pitts, then I would think that they would envision very big plans for him. So
they'd have to use him. Yeah.
He's going to be one of the 3 highest paid tight ends of all time. Like sometimes it's just kind of the cost of doing business. So do I think it would be smart money? I doubt it, but if you are going to pay Kyle Pitts what he's going to get on the market, then I think it means that you have really, really big plans for him. So it would be kind of intriguing. But running back and tight ends everybody knows that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to this. The room is disgusting around here. It's actually gross.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I almost, Sean, I wish we could take Landry's time machine from earlier and put you into like the Pro Bowl of like 2024 or 2025, because the Texans always have like a late round pick just kind of basically set aside to go grab a guy that's going to get cut that used to be really good and is maybe still like kind of okay. So maybe that's what we get you in a time machine, get you to the 2025 Pro Bowl or the 2024 Pro Bowl. So you can just that late round pick that they send. They did it for Joe Mixon 2 years ago. Last year's Christian Kirk. You go find that guy.
Oh, yeah. Who's the guy that's going to be on the verge of getting cut? Well, CJ Gardner-Johnson, I think, was in that same boat too, right? Like that's another one. Yeah, we were, at least I know I was like, man, is, not that we had never seen it before. O'Brien was about to cut Martinez Rank and he traded it for Carlos Hyde. That was actually one of the better moves Bill O'Brien made as a general manager. We see, TJ Yates and Akeem Dent back in the day. We see those things. There was a point with, the Mixon and CJ Gardner-Johnson before the year and Kirk before the year. I'm like, ooh, this little cheat code that Nick is taking, this glitch in the matrix. And now, Kirk had one good game in the playoffs. CJ Gardner-Johnson probably lost at least 2 games for you, maybe 3. The Mixon one is actually a good segue because we'll talk free agent. I feel like the list of free agents is going to be one of those fluid things every week that we're talking about, depending on rumblings that we're hearing and whatnot. And before we know it, the beginning of the league year will be here. Okay. So along those lines, do you believe any bit of Joe Mixon going on social media and implying that 2026 is going to be a vengeance year?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, who's he going to get vengeance on? The doctors that kept him out for 2025?
All the haters on Twitter, Cody, that were hating on Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I just
for
don't.
having a bad foot.
I try to put myself in Casario's shoes when I
Yeah.
think about this Joe Mixon thing, because any Joe Mixon conversation when it comes to the Texans in 2026 about him playing just feels wholly and totally illogical. The guy didn't even
Yes.
play a snap of football last year. The general manager sat there and said, I don't want to call it a freak injury, but it's a freak injury. I've never seen it before. He's been around football and injuries for 20 plus years, and he's never seen anything close to this. Nothing that has like a reference point, just like,
Yeah.
hey, never seen anything quite like this. The guy missed a whole year of football. He's already the age where running backs fall, kind of start to fall apart. He himself kind of slowed down at the end of the previous year.
Yeah.
And I understand you might have a little bit better stuff around him, but how could you plan for a team that says they want to run the football? The head coach says that. The offensive coordinator says that. For a team that says they want to run the football, how could you plan for your top running back or even your number 2 running back to be a guy that couldn't even step on a football field, could barely be in the facility getting treatment in 2025? I just don't know how you could do that.
Yeah, I think at this point it's obvious that there's some sort of agreement between the Texans and Joe Mixon where they have to at least act like they're functioning as if they have plans for the future. But I think as soon as push comes to shove, he's going to be released and the Texans are going to move on. And he's going to move on. It's very apparent that that's what they're doing, and you see it a lot. Like you're parting ways, and then let's just put up a good face or whatever. Whether it's contractually, whether it's to protect the player, the organization, whatever. It's very obvious. The other thing about Mixon is this: even if all this wacky shit hadn't happened, we'd still be having a discussion about a 30-year-old running back that has a lot of wear and tear. And at that point, even some of the best running backs in the game, like we saw Saquon Barkley decline from 2 years ago to last year. And he's younger than Joe Mixon. So we would have been having these discussions no matter what. Like, is it time to move on? Is it time to upgrade? All that type of stuff. And you factor in the weird stuff and the price and the fact that I speak decent Casario. I know a lot of times it's hard to get through the word salad, but it's not an accident that he says we haven't seen Joe in a long time. Like I'm just promising you, when Casario comes out and says we haven't even seen Joe in a few weeks, it's not an accident.
No.
When they talk about Derek Stingley, where was Derek Stingley when he signed his contract? Oh, he was working out. Brevin Jordan around the team, and Tank Dell, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a sec. It's over. Like the Joe Mixon thing's over, and he's pretending that he's going to be back with the Texans, which he's been doing all year, and they're doing the same. But once push comes to shove, you free up the money. And you go find a running back.
Yeah, you guys both said things there that I just want to bounce off of, and then we'll get to Tank Dell. A word you used, Cody, illogical. That it's been there has been no reports about anything specific medical with Joe Mixon, and we're coming up on a year here in a few months. Like nothing specific. The only thing we know is it's something below the knee on one of his legs. That's really all we know about it. And we know that nobody knows, at least publicly, what the hell's been going on with it. And we know that there have been fits and starts with this thing. There have been times, because we've had Nick on Pain and Pendergast multiple times and asked him about Joe Mixon. And he's given answers that have implied that it's advanced and gotten better at times, and then it gets worse. And they have no idea what this is. So for Joe Mixon to be tweeting strong implication, that he's going to be back next year, would mean that this bolt of lightning came out of the sky and cured whatever the hell is going on with his injury, because Casario gave those quotes that you guys are talking about literally less than 3 weeks ago. It was right after the season. So it was right after the Patriots, because it was a Wednesday after the loss to the Patriots. They didn't know what was going on. It's the weirdest thing we've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. For Joe Mixon, with positivity to go 26 vengeance, and he's shaking CJ's hands, he's either riling up the internet for sport, or something's happened that he feels a whole lot better about it. Truthfully, it's only those two things. Well, and so to the point you were were making Landry about about Joe, and we're gonna ask Nick about it. We're gonna interview Caserio on Wednesday afternoon this week. It'll run on Thursday. I'm gonna ask him, like, Joe's tweeting like he's coming back. You just said a few weeks ago that this whole thing is still a big mystery. Has anything changed? And I just want to see if we get the same answer that you guys got in the press conference 3 weeks ago. Because if that's the same answer that we get, then Joe Mixon is kind of an asshole for doing what he's doing on social media right now.
And I think that's what's happening. And I think they both just have to pretend, and then they'll part ways once they part ways.
That's what you had said, Landry. It split my mind. You saying that the two sides kind of need to play along with each other. Well, then get the hell off of social media putting this shit up there.
Well, I mean, and the funniest thing about it, and this was the biggest eye roll for me, is when Rappaport said Mixon not expected to play, and then Joe Mixon tags his agent and says, "I guess you know more about me than myself." Brother, you haven't even been in the facility.
Right.
Like you haven't, like we go there every day. You're not there.
Yep.
So let's say all of a sudden you're ready to go. Like what is your plan? Are you all of a sudden going to do like a cram session? Are you going to like all of a sudden like let the trainers catch up? So like you're not planning on playing. So like it's just been a weird whole pretend thing. But I think it's one of those things where, just based on what I've gathered, I would say they don't want to piss off Joe Mixon. And they just, it was what it was at a certain point whenever they figured it out. But they couldn't just come out and say he effed up off the field or throw him under the bus, because they don't think that benefits them in the long term. And he can't just come out and say, I'm out for the season. So I think there'll be a clean parting of ways, and that'll be the end of it. But I am with you on like the social media like stuff. Maybe Mixon wants to come back. Yeah, of course you want to come back and play for $8 million next year.
Right. He ain't touching that salary. Yeah.
You ain't getting $8 million. Even if Joe Mixon is coming back, there's going to be a release, and then you're going to have to figure something out. You're not playing for $8 million next year, sir.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even entertain a salary adjustment on a guy like him. It's if you want to play here, we're ripping up the deal and we're starting over, buddy.
Yep. You're getting Nick Chubb's contract. You're getting 1 year, $2.5 million. That's what we give to people who are coming off mysterious, weird lower body injuries. At least Chubb's was like a documented foot or whatever the hell it was.
You could play couch doctor and know what happened to him.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get Tank before we get out of here, which is the complete opposite of the Mixon situation on every level. He's around the team every day. He's in the locker. D'Amico's giving his victory speech, and it's the closest guys in his proximity are 9 guys that played in the game, and Tank.
Yeah.
He's at practice. He's doing the social media thing too, but obviously based on what Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans said in their postseason press conferences, it appeared at least a chance that Tank could come back this year. I don't know how close it was or whatever. But it does sound like he's going to be back in some shape, form, or fashion. And it sounds like there's a good chance he's back on a normal calendar. The biggest question is, what version of him are you getting in 2026?
I mean, what version of him did you get in 2024? I mean, he was a non-factor more than he was a factor. Now, maybe he was finding his groove in that Kansas City game, and he went down on the touchdown. But if you just look at the production that we were seeing from Tank Dell there was questions about if he was what he was before, and then you factor in the injuries that he's had. I think it's unrealistic to expect Tank Dell to contribute much, and I think it's a success story even if he just goes on the field and practices. I don't know if he's as close as D'Amico kind of hinted. I think there's a lot of people that just ask Tank Dell questions out of nowhere because they know that it generates traffic locally with some of the local assets and stuff like that. But they'd love it more than anything for him to be out there. I just don't know how he fits into what they're currently doing. I think if you just go guy for guy on the receivers, he's maybe your best case scenario. He's your 5th best receiver, and he doesn't play very much special teams. Like you hope that Noel kind of takes that next step. Hutchinson's going to be in his final year. Him, like Henry To'oTo'o, he's gotten better every single year. Higgins, and then Nico. So I don't know how he fits in. He's a motivational story. It's a success story no matter what. But I think if we're sitting here and we're saying, okay, we're going to see 2023 Tank Dell, I think it's unfair to him, quite frankly, given everything that he's been through. And I think it's very, very unrealistic to expect. And the other thing that we got to factor in, might not like it, 2 for 2 when it comes to season-ending injuries with Tank Dell. So you can't you can't really count on it. It's a great story, but as far as like a massive impact for Tank Dell, I'm going to show him more respect and just say it's success no matter what. Just the fact that he's around the team, he's in good spirits, and he has an opportunity to make the squad. Anything else is just icing. I don't have expectations for the young man.
Yeah, I would put it in the gravy category. Just whatever you get out of him is gravy. You don't have to have it, but whatever you get out of him is a positive. Because again, it leans into the Mixon conversation. How could you plan for this guy to be a key piece of your team? Backup outside wide receiver, a slot option for you. Like, how could you plan for that without knowing anything about what he's going to be as a football player? So, again, you bring somebody in like he's not there, and whatever he does give you is a huge bonus, and maybe that person's SOL because Tank Dell's a worthwhile football player, and he's bounced back from the injury, and he's a guy that you can put out on the field and trust. But they won't know that until August, September. So plan accordingly ahead of time, and don't bet on it being the case.
I just don't know how anyone can. I just don't know how anyone can realistically expect to see 2023 Tank Dell or even 2024 Tank Dell, which was kind of a drop off from 2023. But before the Chiefs game, maybe he was figuring it out, and expect to see that guy again after everything that he's been through. I just don't know how that's like scientifically possible. It just doesn't seem fair. And I don't know how they handle that situation. Like with all this feel good and how close he is to everyone else. Like, let's say that Jalen Noel takes the next step. Let's say that Higgins looks like you want him to look. Let's say that Hutchinson continues to get better each year, and Nico Collins is Nico Collins. And then whatever other wide receiver you bring in is whatever other wide receiver. Like, how do they handle it? Do they cut Tank Dell? Do they kind of keep Tank Dell around just because? Like, I just don't know what the plan is with Tank Dell. And then if he is on the field, how is he going to be able to last the whole season? It's not an unfair question to ask based on what we've seen. So it's just, I feel like it's being set up to where nobody's rooting against the guy. As I've said many times, if you're rooting against Tank Dell, you're going to hell on scholarship. Full ride. NIL max deal. You got an NIL max deal, hell on scholarship if you're rooting against Tank Dell. But it's just weird. It doesn't make any like logical sense to expect a ton from him. You just got to take a step back and realize that.
Yep. All right, boys. Well, I got a function here in San Fran I need to get to.
What are you getting into? What is Social Sean getting into? What are we smoking?
I'm meeting up with some of the WEI guys. So yeah, my boy Ted Johnson's in town.
Teddy J here.
Teddy J here. Yeah.
Are they cocky again? Is the Boston radio swag back?
I wasn't around them today. The only show they have here, they took Ted, who does afternoons on WEEI, and they took the morning host, Greg Hill, and Jermaine Wiggins, who used to play with Ted.
Crazy.
And so they shuffled the lineup around. So the only show they brought out here are the ones with the two football players and their sort of OG morning guy.
I have a request for you, and I know you're a busy guy, and I know that your social media is very valuable to you, but I have a serious request, and I'm asking you to please do this.
Okay. I'm writing it down.
I want you to record this, and I just want you to ask Ted Johnson. I want you to ask him his thoughts on Robert De Niro's movie Dirty Grandpa.
Okay.
You will never see a more passionate breakdown of a movie than if you ask him about Dirty Grandpa.
Okay.
It is one of the best. It's one of my joys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know for a fact that he loves that movie.
Dude, he not only loves it, he thinks it's De Niro's most brilliant work. Like,
dude,
I promise you.
Boy.
And maybe there was like a little bit of assistance from both of us when we were having this discussion, but I had it multiple times. Ask him about Dirty Grandpa and record it, and you will never see more passion.
I will.
Movie than when Ted Johnson talks about De Niro in Dirty Grandpa.
Okay, I will ask him about that. This is the second pen I've had explode on me today. What the hell, man? This is the second one.
Pens are.
What the hell?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, look at this. What the? Yeah, this is me writing down your dirty grandpa shit.
Dude, trust me.
Looks like you're writing a ransom note, Sean.
I feel like I am a ransom note. Look at me. Yeah. So I will. You know what? That is so funny. That is on brand for Ted. You guys know what Ted Johnson's favorite pizza is? Like favorite
cheese. But by the way, y'all did him dirty on that.
Wait. I think you were a little bit. You guessed it right. I think what.
But they actually did change the way that they did pizza. But he's actually
Chuck E. Cheese. I think you were a little muted by my thing. Yeah. Chuck E. Cheese is the answer. Yeah.
He's right. They changed it though. They used to have the best personal pizzas in the world. He's right. But when y'all tried it, it was different. Y'all tried like the hand toss, but the personal pizzas at Chuck E. Cheese used to be the best in the game. He's right. Promise.
Was the crust buttery? Was it a buttery crust?
It was extra buttery and it was more crispy. The stuff y'all got was soft, but they actually changed it because I know this for a fact because one of my relatives used to run a Chuck E. Cheese. So like,
oh, okay,
yeah. So like the pizza was legit, dude. Legit.
Landry's like one of those Native Americans that has like a 132nd claim to a chunk of the casino business. He's like, yeah, I had a cousin that was part of the Chuck E. Cheese empire, so I know what the hell I'm talking about, man. Buttery crust.
It was good. And me and Ted have a lot of the same philosophies. Get the dirty grandpa. Get the dirty grandpa.
I will. In this puddle of ink on this paper, I've got it written down. Yeah.
They'll go in on it.
Oh man.
All right, boys. That was fun as always. For those wondering, Reggie is already over at in Santa Clara. I think they'd take a bus to go over to media night. They didn't do it down here at the convention center. So that's where Reggie is today. We'll all be back on it next Monday. We'll have a Super Bowl to talk about as well next Monday. And we'll be able to look at this thing and go, okay, where are the Texans compared to what we saw on the field last night, among other things that we will get into. Gentlemen, I enjoyed it as always. Landry of The Locker Room with Landry Locker and SNL, Cody Stutes, Houston Football with Cody Stutes and SNL as well. Next time, 10:30 tonight, Landry, are you on? Is it
10:30
10:30 tonight? And you guys got any out and about with the people coming up here soon?
We're going to be at the NFL Combine in a couple weeks. I think we're probably going to make a spanky stop before then for sure.
Ooh, cool. Are you going to be doing this here collective from Indianapolis?
Yes, sir.
Sweet. Oh, we're going to get Combine stuff.
I'm gonna go pee on the Peyton Manning statue live on the air.
Film it. Yes. Film it.
I will pee on the Peyton Manning statue live on the air.
Film it. All right, boys. Hey, everybody in the chat, we appreciate you coming in. Tell a friend. We're still doing this thing in the off season. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Download Prize Picks. Big game coming up. Use the code Texans. You get $50 in lineups for a $5 lineup. Get your lineups all spread out across on your phone, then spread them out across the table and track them during the game. That's a whole lot of fun to do with Prize Picks. So for Landry Locker and Cody Stutes, I'm Sean Pendergast. We will see all of you next Monday. Stay tuned to Sports Radio 610 all week long as well. We're going to be here on Radio Row all week. With that said, Cody, end stream.